Picture this. You're standing in the middle of Dubai Marina, one of the most expensive pieces of real estate on planet Earth, towers on both sides. The kind of towers where a single apartment costs more than most people make in a lifetime. But something is wrong. There are no cars on the road, no yachts in the water. The restaurants are locked. The lobbies are dark. There's a for lease sign on nearly every building you can see. And if you look up, hundreds of balconies, all empty, curtains drawn, not a single light on. This is not a movie set. This is Dubai. Right now. And here's the number that should stop you cold. Just 12 months before this moment, this same city received $63 billion in private wealth in a single year. 9,800 millionaires moved here, more than any country on Earth attracted that year. So where did they go? Where did $63 billion go? That is exactly what this video is about. And I promise you, by the end, you will never look at wealth, safety, or cities the same way again. Before we get to the collapse, you need to understand why Dubai was so special. Because if you don't understand the rise, the fall won't make sense. Here's the honest truth about money. Wealthy people, really wealthy people, are not loyal to any country. They are loyal to one thing, the best deal. And for the last decade, Dubai offered the best deal on earth. Think about what that actually means. You're a British tech founder. You just sold your startup for $200 million. Back home in London, the government wants 45% everything you earn going forward. 45. Besparent. Plus potential changes to non-dom rules that could tax your global income, plus inheritance tax, plus capital gains. Or you move to Dubai and you pay zero, nothing dello income tax, dello capital gains. Zero inheritance tax, dello wealth tax. You keep every single pound, or in this case, every single dirham. And it's not just the taxes. Dubai built an entire system to make wealthy people feel wanted. The Golden Visa program, introduced in 2019 and upgraded in 2022, gave you a 10-year residency just for investing around $550,000 in property. That's pocket change for someone worth 50 million. In return, you get to live in one of the most connected cities on Earth. Direct flights to London, Mumbai, Singapore, New York. Everywhere in a place where the infrastructure is world-class. The weather is warm, and the government is actively competing to make your life easier. And here is the key thing most people miss about Dubai. Dubai is not trying to be a country for its citizens. It is trying to be a city for the world's best people. That is its entire business model. Everything, the architecture, the laws, the tax system, the golden visa, all of it is designed around one goal: attract talent and capital from every corner of the planet. And it worked. By 2025, Dubai was home to 237 centimillionaires. People with $100 million or more. At least 20 billionaires called it home. The city was attracting millionaires at a rate that had never been seen anywhere before in history. The Henley Private Wealth Migration Report, the Bible of global wealth movement, released its 2025 numbers. And Dubai was not just number one. It was not just ahead. It was so far ahead of everyone else, it almost looked like a mistake. Net inflow, plus 9,800 high net worth individuals. In a single year, the United States, in second place, attracted 7,500. Singapore managed 4,400. Dubai beat the USA, Singapore, Canada, and Australia combined. And those 9,800 people didn't just bring themselves. They brought their families, their businesses, their staff, their money managers, their art collections, their private jets. Estimated total wealth flowing in, $63 billion in 1 year. This was the golden age of Dubai. The experiment had worked. The desert city had become the world's greatest wealth magnet. And then came the night that broke everything. I need you to understand something before I describe what happened. Dubai's entire identity is built on one unspoken promise. It is not written anywhere. There is no contract, No guarantee. But every single person who moved their family and their money there understood it perfectly. The promise was this: Dubai is neutral. Dubai is safe. Whatever happens in the Middle East, the wars, the politics, the tensions between Iran and Israel and America, Dubai stays out of it. Dubai is a business city. It does not pick sides. And in return, everyone agrees to leave it alone. That promise made Dubai possible. Without it, none of the 63 billion would have come. None of the millionaires would have moved. You don't relocate your family and your fortunito, a city in the middle of a war zone. You do it because you believe, absolutely believe, that it is safe. February 28th, 2026. That promise was destroyed. Here is what happened in the weeks before. The United States and Israel had conducted airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. Iran had been warning of retaliation. Most analysts assumed the retaliation would be limited. A few symbolic strikes, some posturing, the usual game. They were wrong. On the night of February 28th, Iran launched one of the largest coordinated missile and drone attacks in modern military history. Approximately 1,700 projectiles, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, Shahed kamikaze drones. Now here is the part that changed everything. More than two-thirds of those projectiles were not aimed at Israel. They were aimed at the United Arab Emirates. Think about that for a second. Iran chose Dubai, the city of business, the neutral zone, the place that had spent decades staying out of regional politics. As its recomminatory target, roughly 90% were intercepted by US, Israeli, and Emirati air defense systems. The Iron Dome and Patriot batteries worked overtime that night. But 10% of 1,700 still 170 projectiles getting through. And 170 was enough. The five-star Fairmont, the Palm was, struck by an explosion. The Burj Al Arab, that famous sail-shaped hotel on its own artificial island, the one that appears in every Dubai Line photograph. Debris from a downed Iranian drone set fire to its upper floors. And most critically of all, Dubai International Airport, the busiest international hub in the world. The airport that over 90 million passengers pass through every year, the artery through which Dubai's entire global economy flows, was hit by a missile strike. The airport that never closes, closed. In one night, everything Dubai had promised, the safety, the stability, the neutrality, was shattered. Not symbolically, actually shattered. By actual missile shitting, actual buildings that people actually knew, had actually been to, had actually loved. And the wealthy do not wait for reassurances. They do not hold press conferences. They do not read white papers. They move on instincts. And their instinct, honed over generations of capital preservation, is tuned to one signal when the environment becomes dangerous. You move, immediately. No debate. When you hear gunfire, you don't hold a committee meeting about the gunfire. You leave. What happened next was something no city had ever experienced before. Not a slow drift, not a gradual cooling of enthusiasm. A full, mass, panic-driven exodus of the wealthiest people on the planet, happening faster than anyone thought was physically possible. Within less than 1 week of the attack, private jet departures from Dubai, Muscat, and Riyadh had spiked 98%. Let that sink in. Nearly double the normal rate. Every available aircraft in the region was booked. Charter companies were turning away clients for the first time in memory. CNBC ran a story describing Dubai's super-rich as paying, their exact word, megabucks to get out. Some families were reportedly paying $150,000 for a single one-way flight to Europe. $150,000, one way, just to leave. But it wasn't just the private jet crowd. The numbers on the ground told an even bigger story. In JBR, Jumeirah Beach residents, in Dubai Marina. In downtown Dubai, the three neighborhoods where the wealthy had concentrated. Landlords reported a 15 to 20% increase in lease termination notices within 10 days. 10 days. Think about what that means practically. These are not month-to-month renters. These are people paying 40,000. Okay, so here is the moment you came for $63 billion walked into Dubai in 2025. Where did it go when the people left? And this is where it gets genuinely interesting. Because the answer is not what you expect. Most people assume that when a billionaire leaves a city, their money leaves with them. Like they pack a suitcase full of gold and carry it to the airport. That's not how it works. And understanding how it actually works explains why what happened to Dubai's money was, in some ways, far more devastating than a simple withdrawal. Let's break it down into three categories. The first, real estate, and this is where it gets brutal. The biggest chunk of that 63 billion was parked in property, luxury apartments, villas on the Palm, penthouse units with views of the marina, commercial real estate in the financial district. When the wealthy fled, they couldn't sell on day one. You cannot list a $20 million Palm Jumeirah villa and expect a buyer by Friday morning. That's not how luxury real estate works, especially when the reason you're selling is that the city you're selling in just got hit by missiles. So thousands and thousands of properties hit the market simultaneously. The Dubai Financial Market Real Estate Index dropped 30%, from 16,140 points down to around 11,500. That erased every single gain made in the entire year of 2025. Bloomberg called it. Dubai real estate bonds rack up steep losses. Fitch Ratings said prices could fall 15% from peak to trough. In established areas like Dubai Marina and Jumeirah Lake Towers, actual property prices dropped 15 to 25%, with no signs of stopping. The second category, nowhere, it got trapped. Here is something most people outside of Dubai don't understand. Dubai property is not liquid, even in a good market. Selling a luxury apartment takes months. In a crisis, with 10,000 units hitting the market simultaneously, buyers don't just negotiate harder. They disappear entirely. Nobody wants to catch a falling knife. So billions of dollars in property sat listed. But unsold, the owners were already in London or Singapore or Geneva. But their money was still stuck in Dubai concrete and Dubai glass, technically theirs. Practically frozen. The third category is where the real damage happened. Liquid assets that moved at wire transfer speed. When a very wealthy person leaves a city permanently, they don't just take their body. They systematically dismantle their financial presence. They close their private banking accounts. They transfer their investment portfolios. They move their business registrations. And all of that, unlike a villa, can happen in 48 hours. Cash, stocks, bonds, crypto, all of it moves at the speed of a digital instruction. And when 9,800 families do this at roughly the same time, you get the fastest capital flight in the history of any single city. Where did it land? London, ironically, was one of the biggest winners, the same wealthy people who fled London for Dubai, because of tax policy, now decided that even 45% income tax was better than missiles. Wealth management firms in London reported a surge in returning clients. Switzerland, always the old reliable, saw significant inflows, boring, neutral. Alpine Switzerland, which had spent years watching Dubai steal its wealthy clients, was suddenly looking very attractive again. And Singapore may have been the single big jest winner of the entire collapse. It had been quietly positioning itself for years as the stable alternative to Dubai, better legal protections, deeper financial infrastructure, further from Middle East conflict. Now it was explicitly marketing itself as Asia's Dubai, but actually safe. The inflows were enormous. Some went to Monaco, some to the Caribbean, some simply went home, but almost none of it stayed in Dubai. Now here is the part of this story that gets overlooked. People say, Dubai has bounced back before. And that's true. In 2008 and 2009, the global financial crisis hit Dubai like a truck. Property values dropped 50 to 60%. Dubai World. the state-owned conglomerate that had funded half the city's development, nearly defaulted on $26 billion in debt. Abu Dhabi had to step in with a $10 billion emergency bailout just to keep the lights on. Abandoned construction, cranes dotted the skyline for years. People left thousands of cars at the airport, just walked away from them because they couldn't afford to leave with them and couldn't afford to stay. And yet, Dubai rebuilt. It took a decade, but it rebranded, attracted new investment, and by 2020, it was stronger than ever. So why is 2026 different? Because in 2009, the problem was financial. The money dried up, but the fundamental promise, Dubai is safe, Dubai is neutral, Dubai is stable, remained intact. Economic risk is fixable. You restructure debt, you cut costs, you wait for the global cycle to turn, and then money comes back. Because the reason people chose Dubai in the first place is still there. In 2026, the problem is not financial. The problem is existential. The core promise, Dubai is safe, has been broken not by a recession, but by actual physical missile striking, actual buildings that the world watched burn on live television. And here is the cruel irony. In 2009, Abu Dhabi stepped in and wrote a check. You can fix a financial crisis with money. That's literally what money is for. You cannot write a check to fix a reputation for safety. There is no bailout for trust. You can bail out a bank. You cannot bail out belief. The wealthy people who left Dubai did not leave because they ran out of money. They left because the reason they chose Dubai, above London, above Singapore, above every other option on earth, was that they believed it was safe. The moment that belief broke, the calculation changed entirely. Dubai, without the safety promises, just a very expensive city, in a very unstable region, with very good shopping malls. So, what does the future look like? Some money will come back. It always does. Markets have short memories. The Iran conflict may de-escalate. A ceasefire could hold proprietary at 25% below. Peak will attract bargain hunters, who see opportunity where others see risk, and Dubai is not finished. The government of the UAE has resources, determination, and decades of experience reinventing itself. They will adapt. But whether Dubai ever reclaims its position as the undisputed #1 destination for the world's most mobile wealth, that is a question nobody can answer right now. Because $63 billion didn't just disappear, it dispersed. It fled to cities that hadn't been on the receiving end of a missile barrage. It fled to countries that felt, at least for now, like safer bets. What really disappeared was the illusion, the idea that Dubai had somehow escaped its own geography, that it had built itself into something that existed outside the chaos of the Middle East. That illusion cost 9,800 million their sense of security. It cost Dubai its reputation as the one truly neutral, truly safe, truly global city. And it may cost the Emirate years, possibly decades, of recovery it cannot afford to lose. The lesson here is not really about Dubai. It is about what happens when the thing that makes you special stops being true. And it is a lesson that every city and every investor in the world should be watching very carefully right now. If this video gave you something real, something that actually made you smarter about how money and safety and power really work, then subscribe, because this is the kind of story we tell here. Not headlines, not hype, the real mechanics of how the world works. And there is a lot more coming.